こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材はブライトン&ホーブアルビオンに関する動画です。三笘薫の話はほとんどありませんが、ブライトンの近年の躍進をフォーカスして言わずもがなかもしれませんが、プレミアリーグで最もうまく経営しているチームだと言っています。今シーズンが始まったばかりのタイミングで作成されている動画であり、マンチェスターユナイテッドに2対1で勝利した頃のタイミングですが、今や実力通りの結果を出しているチェルシーに関しても、ブライトンの躍進を語る上では、常に皮肉的に扱われるように。この動画でもチェルシーを失敗例のようにも話している部分もありますが、ブライトンの躍進は他のチームにはないエキサイティングなものがありますので、皆さんもただ楽しんでいただければと思います。
How do we stop Brighton? I'm being deadly serious here. I'm 26 years old. Growing up, Brighton and Hove Albion was a club that was, in League One or maybe in the Championship, but predominantly in League One. I couldn't even really tell you where Brighton was on the map. And then near 10 years ago, Brighton were getting a bit more on the higher end of the Championship, fighting to get into the playoffs. And they were fighting with the likes of Derby County, Middlesbrough, Burnley, Sheffield Wednesday to try to get to the Premier League. And for many clubs, and even still now, the dream is just to become an established Premier League club, a consistent Premier League club. And if you was to put your money on any team to go further than any of those, I think Brighton would be possibly the last team you would think of. And even if it does get good, you'd always expect there to be the inevitable fall off, that the players and the manager and everything would feel like it's too good for the club. The bigger clubs, quote unquote, will come lurking by, they'll pay the big money, the players will leave, and then the inevitable drop off will come. However, Brighton, no matter who leaves, if it's a staff member, a member of scouting, manager, coach, player, it doesn't matter who leaves, because whoever comes in next is just as good, if not better. This isn't how it's meant to work. There will always be a table, a hierarchy of where teams are meant to be, and quote unquote, know your place. Brighton does not know their place. This video, of course, comes off the back of Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Manchester United 1, for the first game under their new manager at home anyway, in Fabian Hüseler, who's a young, and I mean young, German coach who had a great season and promotion last season with St. Pauli. They brought in around £200 million worth of players, a complete refresh after what was already a successful and incredibly successful squad, beating Ajax in Amsterdam, beating Marseille, topping the group in the Europa League. How has this happened, and can anything be done to stop them? Or is it just a matter of time? Tell me down below your thoughts on Brighton, because for me, they are the best run club in England, by a mile. No wonder why Chelsea keeps trying to buy their club. So like, subscribe, and Mazzola Designs for the best prints, all made by myself. I've just dropped a João Pedro v Man United print as well. Use code Brighton for 15% off all items. Now let's go. Brighton and Hove Albion are an extremely fun football club. They're a fun club to watch. They have fast players, direct players, play attacking football with exciting youngsters with potential through the roof. Brighton is basically every football manager save that you've ever had, signing wonder kids from all around the world, from parts of the globe that you would never have even thought of, developing them and then becoming wonder kids, and yourself for big money. And while you're also selling for big money, you're also buying 2, 3, 4 more random wonder kids that will eventually also become great as well. Brighton's track record of identifying young players at a low cost, developing them over several years, and then moving them on for large sums of money is remarkable. This dates back to 2017, and the main man behind this is of course their owner, Tony Bloom. Tony Bloom is the beating heart of the football club. Only 2 years ago, they've let go of a lot of players that for most clubs would completely demolish their squad. The likes of a Yves Bissouma that went to Spurs, Marc Cucurella to Chelsea, Leandro Trossard to Arsenal, and Alexis McAllister to Liverpool. Oh yeah, and also let's not forget the small amount of Moses Caicedo to Chelsea for over £100 million. And yet, it doesn't really matter. Moneyball is a term that is used a lot, and of course this really goes into the recruitment, where it is massively data driven, that in the last 10 to 15 years has overtook football, and they are really the biggest beneficiaries of that. Or a select algorithm is set in place that will identify players with certain needs and certain requirements that will suit whatever they really want from a player. It's extremely specific, and the idea of talking about this by anyone involved is extremely far and few in between due to how serious it is. That's why when it comes to which players or which manager they have, it doesn't really fully matter, because fundamentally the philosophy of the club stays the same. No matter if they have Graham Potter or De Zerbi or now Huxela, it doesn't really fully matter, because as long as they buy into the system and the philosophy, then that is the main core ingredient, and the players that they get in for that philosophy will remain the same. At this rate, the more Brighton sells their best players, the better they become. Estupinian came from Villarreal for €17 million, Enciso from Libertad for €11 million, Adingra from Nordsjælland for €8 million, Boanote for €6 million, Mitoma for €3 million. You get what I mean? And most players that I've named can possibly now be sold for about 40, 50, 60 million euros now. And that is just a consistent thing. There's so many other players as well. There's of course Evan Ferguson. There's also like Sarmiento can probably go for a bit of money now as well. Like for example, Veltman they bought for €1 million and John Paul Van Heck for €2 million. And it's not only a case of they will be priced out from a young talent from overseas if they don't feel like it's, worth it. But when they see a player which is absolutely worth it, they almost get it bang on every single time. Don't forget, they also had Victor Gyökeres as well, which for once they didn't get that to work, which is a goddamn shame, because imagine if he was there now. Brighton bought Gyökeres for €1 million and then sold Gyökeres to Coventry back in 2021 for €1.2 million. Now for once, that does at least give me hope that they are not absolutely perfect and they can make mistakes. So what about the team now? Well, there's a few changes. Boanate has now gone on loan to Leicester, but that is a loan. Pascal Gross is a big player that's gone to Dortmund, however, with his agent that eventually that was going to happen. Dennis Undav went for a large sum to Stuttgart for €26 million, and I do think he's a good player. And that's pretty much it in terms of bringing players in. Jorginho Rutters through the door, exciting young talent. Minte from Newcastle, exciting talent. Weifer from Feyenoord, good player. Gruder from Mainz, great player. And they are still set to confirm Matt O'Reilly and also Kariglu as well from Fenerbahce. So there's still more players to come in. So most of their new players aren't even really playing yet, and they're already starting the season off quite well. Now it is only early days, however, there's no reason to say why Brighton can't keep this going. And that's why I predicted Brighton, I believe, 8th for my prediction, because I kind of already felt like they would just crack on again now without European football. And to see how Brighton have dealt with the onslaught from Chelsea and the higher ups on trying to buy almost every aspect of their football club, I love how they've dealt with it, because despite no matter how much Chelsea buy off them, it still doesn't seem to work. When Todd Boehly came in to go and get Graham Potter, who was really highly sought after at that stage, he was a really highly respected manager and played some good football. And not only Potter, but also 5 other members of Brighton's staff. And then you can compare and contrast the clubs only 9 months later, with now over 10 players, staff, coaches have now gone to the club, and Chelsea is still completely buried with money, lacking anything remotely resembling a plan, and have already fired Potter and most of the Brighton staff, for then Brighton to effortlessly move on to the next name in line. And that name was of course Roberto De Zerbi, which then led them to one of the best seasons in their history. Evolution. That is not just the Brighton way, but how really any team in this industry can work. They are realistic. They know that they cannot be in that hierarchy of top level clubs. It simply cannot happen, and the only way you can do that is if you keep selling your players for more money and make money for yourself in that natural way, which comes with luck, with extremely intricate and detailed planning, and their strategy is absolutely near perfect. What clubs cannot do is to build a squad for a certain coach, because once that coach leaves, then you need to build a different squad for the next coach. Everything has to be in line of the philosophy of the football club. This isn't always easy, but this is something that's took them quite a few years now to get a hold of, and it's working perfectly, like clockwork. So the question is, do you think that they could potentially stop? Because they're building the money up, they're selling all these players and making immense profit while still being in the Premier League. They're making more and more money, and they seem to always have a backup plan for the backup plan, no matter who it is, if it's a player or manager or a member of coaching staff. And the reason of that is because they are also realistic. They know that Brighton would never be a Tottenham or a Liverpool or an Arsenal or whoever. So they always know that they've got to have a backup plan. So if you are indeed a Brighton fan, I speak on behalf of everyone that's not a big club, a fan of a big club. You lucky sons of a... Anyway, tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.
次は解説です。ドキュメンタリー風でもあり、十分ゆっくり話されていますが、ユーモアに富んだ表現もあったのが感じられたのではないでしょうか。いつものように過去に何度か解説したボキャブラリーもありますが、解説の方もチェックしてみましょ
う。But predominantly in League One.
プレドミナントリという言葉は、主にや大部分はを意味し、何かが他の要素よりも優勢であることを表す際に使われます。特定の状況で何が主要な役割を果たしているのかを強調するのに便利で、日常会話からビジネスや学術的な文脈まで幅広く使われる表現です。ドミナントリは、他を圧倒したり支配したりするニュアンスが強いのに対し、プレドミナントリは、特定の要素が全体の中で大部分を占めることを表します。
But predominantly in League One. Good, you'd always expect there to be the inevitable fall off.
フォールオフという言葉は減少や低下を意味し、何かの量や質が落ちる状況を表します。売上やパフォーマンス、関心の減少を説明する際によく使われ、日常会話からビジネス文脈まで幅広く活用できる便利な言葉です。
Good, you'd always expect there to be the inevitable fall off. Good, you'd always expect there to be the inevitable fall off. The bigger clubs quote unquote will come lurking by.
落買というフレーズは、そばでこっそり様子を伺う、機会を狙って潜む、といった意味を持ちます。何か行動を起こす前に慎重に待機する状況や、目立たない形で近くにいる様子を表し、文脈によって、狡猾さや怪しさが含まれることもあります。
The bigger clubs quote unquote will come lurking by. The bigger clubs quote unquote will come lurking by, and then the inevitable drop off will come.
ドロップオフという言葉は減少や急激な落ち込みを意味する一方で、送迎や引き渡しといった行為を表すこともあります。フォールオフは徐々に減る自然に衰えるというニュアンスが強く、減少が比較的なだらかで長期的に進行している場合に使われることが多い一方で、ドロップオフは急激に減る、突然減少するというニュアンスが強く、減少が目に見えて急激な場合や予想外の出来事による場合によく使われます。
And then the inevitable drop off will come. And then the inevitable drop off will come. This isn't how it's meant to work.
be meant to do という表現は、何々することを意図されている。何々する運命にある。何々するべきである。という意味を持ちます。直訳として何々する意味となっていると解釈できますが、意味する。というよりも、意図するや、目的とされるというニュアンスが強調されています。意図的な行動、期待される義務、運命的な出来事など、様々な文脈で使われる便利なフレーズです。
This isn't how it's meant to work. This isn't how it's meant to work. Quote unquote, know your place.
クォートアンコートは、話し言葉で引用符を示す表現で、日本語の鍵括弧に相当し、特定の言葉やフレーズを引用する際に使われます。単に言葉を引用するだけでなく、皮肉や疑念を込める際にも使われ、注目する言葉の本当の意味や価値を疑問視するニュアンスも含みます。
and quote unquote know your place. Quote unquote know your place. Because for me, they are the best run club in England. By a mile.
by a mile という表現は大差でや圧倒的にという意味で何かが他を大きく引き離している状況を強調する際に使われます。比喩的な表現として、スポーツ、日常会話、比較の場面で幅広く使われる便利な表現です。by far とほぼ同じ意味ですが、by far はフォーマルにも使える一方で、by a mile は少しカジュアルで、会話や軽い表現で使われることが多く、ニュアンスとして大差で、圧倒的な差がある、という物理的なイメージを伴います。
Because for me, they are the best run club in England. By a mile. Because for me, they are the best run club in England. By a mile. With potential through the roof.
through the roof という表現は、天井を突き抜けるというイメージ、何かが非常に急激に増加したり、極端な状態に達したりすることを指し、感情が非常に高ぶった場合にも使われます。このフレーズはポジティブな状況にもネガティブな状況にも使われ、日常会話やビジネスの場面で幅広く使用される便利な表現です。
With potential through the roof. With potential through the roof. It's players that for most clubs would completely demolish their squad.
デモリッシュという言葉は、破壊する取り壊すを意味し、建物や構造物を物理的に取り壊す際に使われます。比喩的には、計画や主張を徹底的に否定するや、試合で圧勝するといった場面でも使われ、物理的な破壊から比喩的な勝利まで幅広く使える表現です。
It's players that for most clubs would completely demolish their squad. It's players that for most clubs would completely demolish their squad. But that in the last 10 to 15 years has overtook football.
オーバーテイクという言葉は追い越すや上回るを意味し、物理的な移動の場面だけでなく、成功や人気などで他を凌駕する状況にも使われます。感情や状況が突然押し寄せるニュアンスでも使われ、非常に多用途な表現です。
Even that in the last 10 to 15 years has overtook football. But that in the last 10 to 15 years has overtook football. By anyone involved is extremely far and few in between.
few and far between という表現は非常に稀である。滅多に起こらないという意味を持つフレーズです。数が少ないという few と間隔が広いという far between という2つの特徴を組み合わせて、数が少なく、間隔が広い、という表現です。この動画では far and few between の語順で使われていますが、正しくは few and far between の語順です。
By anyone involved is extremely far and few in between. By anyone involved is extremely far and few in between. Then that is the main co-ingredient.
コイングレディエントという表現は一般的に使われる表現ではないようですが、材料、成分、要素を意味するイングレディエントに共通のという意味の項を組み合わせた表現で、文脈によって共通の成分や共同の要素を意味します。何かを達成するために他の要素と連携して働くことを示す比喩的な表現としても使えるでしょ
う。Then that is the main co-ingredient. Then that is the main co-ingredient. They would just crack on again now without European football.
クラックオンという表現は主にイギリス英語で使われ、どんどん進める。勢いよく物事を進展させるという意味を持ちます。カジュアルな会話でよく使われる表現で、仕事や日常生活で何かを続けることを示す際に便利です。
They would just crack on again now without European football. They would just crack on again now without European football. And to see how Brighton have dealt with the onslaught from Chelsea and
オンスラウトは猛攻撃や激しい攻勢を意味し、物理的な攻撃だけでなく大量の批判や要求が押し寄せる状況にも使われます。強い圧力や大量の物事が一気に押し寄せる状況を表現するのに適したフレーズです。
And to see how Brighton have dealt with the onslaught from Chelsea and to see how Brighton have dealt with the onslaught from Chelsea and the higher ups on trying to
ハイヤーアップスという表現は上司や上層部を指す英語の口語的なフレーズです。ややカジュアルなニュアンスがあり、 日常会話や職場の非公式な場面でよく使われます。
And the higher ups on trying to be lacking anything remotely resembling a plan.
リモートリという言葉は遠隔でや遠くからを意味し、特にリモートワークや遠隔操作の文脈で頻繁に使われます。また、わずかにや少しでもという比喩的な意味も持ち、否定文の中で全くなんなんないという強調表現としてよく用いられます。
Lacking anything remotely resembling a plan. Lacking anything remotely resembling a plan with extremely intricate and detailed planning.
イントリケートという言葉は複雑な精巧なという意味で多くの細かい要素が絡み合ったものを指します。多くの細部が絡み合った非常に精密で複雑なものや理解や解決が難しい状況を指したり、手間をかけて作り上げられた精巧なデザインや計画を形容する際にも使われます。
With extremely intricate and detailed planning. With extremely intricate and detailed planning.
いかがでしたか？ブライトンが素晴らしい選手を売却すればするほどチームが弱体化することがないどころか、より強くなっているのは誰もが感じているところではないでしょうか。ニューカッスルやアストンビラと比べてもチームの根本が強くなっており、一過性のものではなさそうだというのが期待できますね。実際に2、3年前は数百万ユーロで取得した選手がほとんどだったものが、今シーズンの補強においては、2950万ユーロで加入したマット・オライリー以上の移籍金で加入した選手が、カディオ・グルー、グルーダ、ウィーファー、ミンテ、ジョルジー・ネルターと5人もおり、明らかに補強選手のレベルが上がっているのがわかります。それでも今季加入した選手は知らない選手ばかりでしたが、実際にシーズンの3分の1を終え、ほとんどの選手が良いパフォーマンスをしていると言えるのではないでしょうか。ボトムクラブシンドロームと揶揄されるほど安定さには欠けていますが、新しいメンバーと怪我した選手が戻ってきて、これからさらにチーム力が上がってくれば、より強いチームになり、チャンピオンズリーグも十分に狙えるものだと思いますので、これからも強くなっていくブライトンを楽しみたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。